What's up, family? Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode of Weekend Recap right here on the Recovered on Purpose show. Today, we're going to be talking about relapse, the reality of relapse, and the prevention methods and the warning signs of it. Love you guys so much. Keep living Recovered on Purpose.
The black represents the darkness from which we came. The white represents the light in which we now live. And the red represents the passion it takes to live recovered on purpose.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am going to be sharing this out to some groups right now. Go ahead and do the same yourself. Love you guys. Thanks for showing up. And as always, drop your clean and sober dates in the comments so we can celebrate those. We can celebrate the recovery time. Share these out to any groups that are that need to hear the message about relapse, the reality of relapse. I've got some banners and done some studying up on this to make sure we have some good content in this episode. So anybody out there that's struggling in their recovery, or if you don't even, some people don't even know what relapse actually means, because I didn't know what it meant for so long and found the actual definitions in some studies. So excited to talk about it. Jeremy, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Share these out to your groups, guys. Share these out to your groups. And again, drop your clean and sober dates, where you're coming in from, so we can celebrate. It's going good, Jeremy. Good to see you, brother. Today is day one for me. Let's go. Day one. Celebration lights for day one. Shireen, good to see you. Welcome. We're going to be talking about relapse, in different ways that we can avoid relapse prevention, warning signs of it in your loved ones and in yourself. So stick around. 8 months today. Let's go, brother. Let's go. We got the celebration for 8 months. Jeremy, congratulations. Love you, brother. Love you so much, man. I love that you're always in here. I love the mood that you bring in, the vibe they bring in with everybody, the love that you share to everybody, man. So I'm honored to have you in this group, brother. Lights. They're there for you, brother. Congratulations. Anybody that's just popping in, we do the celebration lights on the weekend recap. Anybody that's celebrating clean time, recovery time, just drop your sober dates in the comments. And we got Shireen here for day one, coming in from Farmington, New Mexico. Good to see you. Relapse is a lack of recovery in my eyes. I hear you, Pam. We're going to be going over all this tonight, and I've got a lot to cover. So guys, keep dropping the comments in, because I'm going to come back to the comments during the show to talk about, what you think about this, the ideas that I bring up. If you have experience in these things, if you have different ideas, make sure that you're dropping them in so that everybody in the community is hearing what you know about this. Okay. This is the best family network for me. Love you, brother. Love you so much. So first, we're going to talk about what exactly is relapse and what does it mean? So for a long time, I was called a chronic relapser, but the difference between a chronic relapser and someone that can't get clean, I haven't actually relapsed. And I can actually show this on different forums and different, medical definitions of relapse. It basically, a relapse is somebody that has been clean and sober for at least 30 days and then goes back to using. Someone that can't get those 30 days together, someone that can't, find that abstinence for 30 days, they're not relapsing, they can't get clean. That was me for years and years and years. I was trying in the 12-step rooms for, 7, 8, 9 years. I actually was in my first meeting when I was 18 years old, and I wasn't able to get sober until I was 28. And there's some reasons why I didn't do the steps. This is my first time doing the steps, and I haven't used since. And I remember the day that I got 30 days, and I picked up my key tag, picked up my chip, and I was so excited. I was like crying, because I felt like I had arrived. It was like this weight had been lifted off of me. I finally got 30 days, and I don't ever want to go back. And that's what a relapse is. A relapse is when you've actually gotten the 30 days, because that's a huge milestone. That's when a lot of the cravings for most drugs and alcohol, the cravings are done within the first 30 days, because the cravings actually come from a physical allergy. When we have the drugs and the alcohol in our system, the cravings it's a phenomenon where we need more and we need more and we need more when they're still in our system. But once they're out of our system, like Pam was talking about, relapse is a lack of recovery. That means that we're not doing something that got us those 30 days. We're not doing something to progress in our recovery. We're not doing the work to keep going. So we're finding ourselves in a place where we're constantly thinking about drugs, and that's the obsession. That's the difference between a craving and an obsession. An obsession comes after the cravings are done, when the drugs and alcohol are out of our system, and we start thinking about it, and we can't stop thinking about it. We can't stay stopped, right? So there's work that has to be done in order to stay stopped. And a relapse only happens after 30 days. So don't beat yourself up. I know we have someone in here for Shireen for her first day. And the thing is there's work to do now. There's work to do now. I don't know how many first days I've had in my life. I've had a lot of them. And I can tell you the difference between the first day of this time of recovery, and I'm coming up on 5 years now. Oh my gosh. Coming up on 5 years now. The difference this time was I actually did the work. I did the work that it took to get clean and sober. For many of us, that's going to be 12 steps. For some of us, it's going to be treatment. For some of us, it's going to be church or medically assisted treatment. If you're an opiate addict, there's Suboxone and things like that. And in these processes, whatever one you take for your journey of recovery, you got to go all in. Do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes to recover. And it's not something, none of us can do this like half in. We can't go half into our recovery thinking that we're going to get it with osmosis. The people around us are just going to get us clean, right? We have work to do in order to recover. Anyone out there that's trying to get sober right now, there's work to do. And I used to think, I used to want somebody to show up that was going to be the one that got me sober. And it didn't happen for years and years and years. I was sponsored by, big people, very, very well-known professional people that couldn't get me sober. And I was putting all this weight on them, expecting them to get me sober. But in reality, when I actually found recovery, it came down to me and God, me trusting God and doing the work that it took to get sober and doing it hard. I'm getting ready to pick up a couple of friends and take them to a 5:30 p.m. meeting at the Milano Club. I'm sharing you out. Love you, Pam. Always good to see you. Enjoy the meeting. Congrats, everyone, on all your sobriety time. You're amazing, and you should be very proud. Keep it up always. Yes. Got my sponsor today as well. Awesome, Jeremy. Nolene, I relapsed after 10 years and couldn't get it out of it for another 13 years. It only gets worse and worse. Woof. Thank you for sharing that. And keep sharing in this conversation, Nolene. If things pop up in this that you recognize in yourself when you were going towards the relapse, we're going to get in that in the show. Relapse doesn't happen, one moment and then you're using. That's not how relapse happens. No studies show that it just automatically happens like that. When we're in recovery and we have a certain amount of time, it starts to gradually happen. And we're going to talk about those stages in a second. So Andrew G, 1/4/21, relapsed after 7 years and took me almost 30 years to get back. Love you, Andrew. Glad you're here, brother. And thank you for sharing your story. It's, I'm coming up on 5 years. Personally, I have this attitude that I'm never going to relapse. I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go back to that life. I have a really solid, first step experience where I was completely hopeless. There was, I know that I can't use drugs. I know that I can't drink. It doesn't work for me. And I never want to go back there. But it's stories like yours, Andrew, that help me to solidify that, to really know that I don't want to go back. How can someone stay clean if they are not ready for treatment, or is it necessary for a person to go to treatment? Tina, I personally did not go to treatment. The person has to want to get clean, though. They have to want to recover. I can tell you at the end, I was at a point where I was trying to get into treatment. My probation officer was trying to get me into treatment, and they wouldn't accept me. I didn't have the right insurance. I didn't have the money. And then the state I was in Montana, because I wasn't a permanent resident, the Medicaid program wouldn't pay for treatment. So I was out of luck. I was out of options. But it's up to the person. It's up to the person to want to get clean. And if they have the opportunity to go to treatment and they're not ready for it, I would question why. I would question why that is. And maybe, Tina, that person might need some kind of conversation with someone that knows, like an intervention, like someone that really knows the opportunity that's sitting in front of them with treatment. I had no God in my life. I see that now, relied on people, not God. Amen. I've been sober for 1 year and 6 months as of 20th, still looking for a sponsor. Let's go. Let's go. Lori coming in with 1 year and 6 months. Congratulations. A big deal. 18 months is a really big deal. Really big deal. All right. Hopping back into the banners. So what are the relapse rates? A lot of us have different, ideas about this from our own experiences in recovery, from the rooms, from seeing people go out and stuff. And none of us really have a positive way to tell you the relapse rates are great. They're not great. Relapse rates are extremely high. For people that go to long-term treatment, that means at least 30 days of treatment, 40 to 60% relapse within the first 30 days of leaving treatment, and 85% relapse within the first year. And that's for alcohol, cocaine, benzodiazepines, opiates, meth, crack, everything. So all of that wrapped into one. And now we don't tell you this, and especially people in recovery, we don't talk about the relapse rates like we're telling you it's not possible. We're telling you that the relapse rates are directly correlated with the people that do the work. The people that are unwilling to actually put in the work, that don't take it seriously, that don't think that, they're fighting for their life, those are the people that will continually relapse, that will never really get clean and sober. And it's a really painful thing for us that have found recovery to continue to watch, because we have found this freedom on the other side of addiction in recovery. And we want people to experience it so bad. We're trying to tell you, like, do the work. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. But the relapse rates are very high, very high. And anyone out there that is in early recovery, or if you're under 1 year right now, you got to get to the year. Whatever it takes to get to that year, and then just keep going, right? Wherever you're at in early recovery, whatever's gotten you to this point, the daily habits that you have and everything, make sure that you have those set. You have them set, that solid foundation. Your house is being built on stone, on a solid foundation rather than sand. Because if we are just, walking through life and moving left and right through life and just letting it come at us and everything without a solid habitual life, our relapse is very likely. It's very likely. And in our early recovery, we have to be adding things into our life that are daily habits that keep us connected spiritually, that keep us connected to a community, to family, to whoever it is that supports us, and make sure that we are building that foundation in our early recovery to take us to that year mark. Then when we hit that year mark, all that stuff that got us there, we have to continue practicing, and that's when we can start adding new stuff into our life. The first year, we have to focus on recovery. We have to focus. So the 3 signs and the 3 stages of relapse. Because like I was saying earlier, relapse doesn't happen just like willy-nilly. One time I'm not using, and then the next minute, oh my gosh, there's a needle in my arm. That doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. And there's 3 stages of this, and each one of these has warning signs within it. So we're going to talk about those. I'm going to hop into the comments real quick. Great job, Lori. Keep up the amazing work. Lately, they've been really bad. The relapse rates, yeah. This person overdosed. Thank God there was naloxone. Amen. He's been clean for a month. I try to encourage him, tell him how lucky he is to be alive. This God given him a second chance. And also, thank you for replying. Of course, Tina. And if you want to, there's a lot of people in this community that are more than willing to talk to that person, and me being one of them. If you want to send me a message on the page, feel free to. I'm always open. And if he's got a month clean, that means he's already beaten 40 to 60% of people in recovery. Now, I don't know what it is about someone. If he's already got 30 days, they don't need treatment. I'm not saying that it wouldn't help, because treatment is always, a good thing for someone that's ready to go, willing to go, and will do the work while they're in there. But there's so many resources now for addicts that are outside of treatment, that if he's got 30 days, now it's time to build a foundation, build a life, build habits, build community and things around recovery, and make sure that we are completely cutting out Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Don't even have their phone number. They're blocked, and then we delete their phone number. Anyone that we used with, any drug dealers, anything like that. We have to build the life on the other side of addiction as we're in our recovery. We need more awareness for our youth as well. I'm bringing this message to everyone I can. Amen, Jeremy. I'm doing a college speaking tour. Got somebody that's booking them for me right now. And it's true. That's what we're called to do. Yes, we need to be helping addicts that are still struggling. And because the relapse rates are so high, we have to be stopping kids from becoming addicts as well. That's our job. It's literally our job. Good to see you, Jennifer. Good to see you. All right. The 3 signs and the stages of a gradual relapse. First sign is going to be emotional relapse. Warning signs for emotional relapse are going to include things like, seclusion, isolation. When we stop going to, if we were building our life by going to meetings, by having a sponsor, by, whatever we were doing that was keeping us connected to people, when we stop doing those things, that's a warning sign of emotional relapse. If we notice someone that was excited about recovery, that was excited about life, and then all of a sudden you see them like hanging their head while they're walking, and they're sad and things like that. Or if this is you, if you're noticing that your emotional state is not in a good place, if you're not feeling that happiness, you're not feeling that joy, you're not excited to be recovered, if you're not having those good emotional states every single day, if you're noticing yourself depressed, stressed, anxious, these kinds of feelings, these kinds of emotions, it's time to start taking some action. We have to get back to the habits that got us to those first 30 days, to that first year, and get back to the basics. Get back to the basics of recovery. Emotional well-being is one of the number one. It is number one of the 3 warning signs and 3 stages of a relapse. But if we're not in control of our emotions and we're not noticing good emotions, we're in the first stage of relapse. So if this is you, if you're in recovery and you're noticing yourself sad, mad, stressed, anxious, depressed, these kinds of things that are happening, it's time to get into your journal, talk to your sponsor, talk to your community, talk to your support system, and let them know how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. That's how you get out of the emotional relapse. You have to start opening up about what's going on and how you feel. We can't be secluding and isolating and keeping these things away and thinking, oh, no one cares and stuff like that, because we do. But we can't help if we don't know. The people that support you, the people that love you, the people that are there for you, they're not going to be able to just, say, oh, are you emotionally well today? Are you doing emotionally well today? Some support systems are great like that. Many aren't. I don't have one that just like checks on my emotional well-being every day. I have to open up. I actually did this 2 days ago in a men's group. I got on and I just like really opened up about things that were going on, feelings that I was having, different emotions that I was feeling and stuff, because I needed to get them out. I wasn't in a place where it was like an emotional relapse, but things were happening that were causing emotions in me that I needed to talk about. So number 1, be open. Be open and honest in your recovery. No matter how long you have in your recovery, you have to keep your emotional being well. You have to keep it well. Okay. Hopping back in the comments, anybody that's talking about the emotions, it's exactly what I told them to do. Block all these people. Thank you again. Of course, Tina. And the thing is, and I'm gonna shoot you straight. And I'm saying this assuming that you're not an addict. Okay. And a really powerful thing for an addict is to be talked to by another addict, someone that's in recovery, someone that has some significant recovery time that can give them the advice like this. And this isn't saying anything about you. It's not saying anything about his love for you or your power in saying and being there for him and everything like that. A really good tool for you would be to find someone that's in recovery that can talk to him as well. Reach out to someone that you know that's in long-term recovery, have a conversation with them, let them know what's going on, let them know how the conversations are going with him, and then make a request. Hey, can you talk to him? Can you talk to him about these things? And just like, if he's open to it, will you have a conversation with him? because an addict that has recovered can really connect with an addict that is in early recovery or still struggling in a different way. And a lot of times an addict knows what they need to do, especially with blocking people and cutting people out and stuff like that. Like we know we need to do that, but sometimes it needs to come from like inside. We have to make that decision that we are ready to do that. So I really highly recommend getting in touch with some people in recovery and utilizing our community. We have a huge community of people in recovery. Something like 30% of the United States do not drink or use drugs. And it's weird because a lot of us addicts that were in our addiction, we thought everybody uses, everybody drinks and all that. But studies show that 30% of Americans don't drink alcohol, don't use drugs. And a lot of them, are in recovery, and that's why. Most of them are in recovery, and that's why. Some of them just, grew up great without ever having to, be exposed. Closed-minded, yes, all the time. Okay, so number 2 of the 3 signs of gradual relapse is mental relapse warning signs. This is the most dangerous place to be in recovery. If you are in recovery and your mind is starting to go to places like, remembering what it feels like to use, or if you start thinking about how you could possibly use without people knowing, or how could maybe I could control it this time. Maybe I'll just go out and have a few beers. What would happen, when you start like fantasizing in your head, like what would happen if I just had a few beers this Saturday? If the mental relapse is the thought of possibly using or drinking, that is a very, very, very dangerous place to be. And it needs to be nipped in the butt immediately. If you're watching this, you're in recovery and you're experiencing mental relapse warning signs where you're thinking about drinking or using, rationalizing it, thinking about ways you could do it, thinking about how it feels or anything like that, it's time to cut that out right now. And the only way to cut that out is by taking some actions. We're going to talk about them in a few minutes. But one of those actions, number 1, is you got to open up. Same as the emotional warning signs, you have to open up to your community, to your support system, and let them know how you're feeling and what you're thinking. There is no shame. There is no shame in talking to people about where you're at in your recovery. It's the only way that we're going to be able to continue for long-term, for permanent recovery. And it's the only way that you're going to be able to get out of this state and not go to the next one. And the next one is physical relapse. Physical relapse is, I don't know exactly how it feels. There's some people on the show right now that are that have experience in this, but some studies and some different doctors say different things about relapse. And one of the things that I read is that there's something called a lapse and something called a relapse. And the difference being, a lapse is when you've had significant recovery time and you use once for less than 24 hours. And then you're just like, I can't do it. I'm not going back there. I decided I'm not going back there, that kind of thing. And that's and a lot of people that I've talked to that have relapsed, they regretted it immediately. As soon as they put it in their body, because I'll study people. Like if they relapse, I'm like, what did it feel like? How long was it until it just sucked? How long was it that you were able to enjoy that high? And no one that I talked to, and I made them get honest with me. I made them get real honest with me. Like, how long did you enjoy the high? How long did you enjoy the drinking or whatever it was that they did? And not one of them enjoyed it for longer than 10 minutes. Not one. So, but in that case, some people will continue using anywhere. They're like, oh, well, I already lapsed, so I might as well just, go right back into the way that I used to be. And a relapse is when you actually are back to uncontrolled drinking and using. When you're not able to say, I'm just having a beer, when you're not able to say, I'm just going to smoke a little crack, and for someone like me, I am very, 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 I'm 99.9% sure that if I was to take one sip of alcohol, that I would immediately go into relapse. I don't know if I don't believe that my body has my body and my mind together. I don't believe that they have the capability of having something go inside of it that alters my mind, that won't cause me to keep going. I don't think that's possible for someone like me. So if you're in recovery, remember that just one can take us all the way back to where we used to be, that horrible, horrible place. Okay. So now we're going to be talking about tricks and tools for relapse prevention. Different warning signs. Again, we've been going over the warning signs, and these tricks and tools, you can use them for yourself, and you can, share them with your loved one. If you have a loved one that is struggling in their recovery, or if they're doing great in their recovery, ask them if they're doing this. Ask them if they've tried this. These are just tips and tricks to keep recovery in the front of your mind, as well as progressing in your life in recovery, so that you're living happy, you're living joyful. Okay. And guys, I did create a worksheet for this, where it'll be available on the Recovered on Purpose website within the next week. I'm just getting it beautified up. I try my best to do graphic design, but I'm not that great at it. And I like to make really good things for you guys. So I have a graphic artist making the worksheet available, downloadable. You can do it and everything. And it'll have all this worksheet, all these steps to do right there on the worksheet for you. So one question you want to ask yourself, and take some time. If you're in a state of emotional relapse or mental relapse, take some time to sit down with yourself and a journal and God and ask yourself some questions. Okay. Find out what's going on. And you want to remind yourself, why did you want to get clean in the first place? What was going on in your life? If you're considering using drugs again, if you're considering drinking again, before you take that step, okay, ask yourself why you got clean and sober in the first place. What was actually going on? Take as much time and as much space in your journal as you need to write about your life before recovery, when you were addicted, the horrors of it. A lot of us experienced, traumas. A lot of us experienced loss, friends, family. We lost loved ones. We lost friends to overdose, these kinds of things while we were in our addiction. And, the pain of, for me, not being able to find a vein, those kinds of things were just so horrifying and traumatic all the time. I never want to go back there. And if I'm in a state, if I ever get to a mental state of relapse, I don't think that I could, I don't see myself ever going there. But if I ever do, I'm going to be reminding myself immediately. I'm going to be talking to everybody around me, my entire community, my entire support system, and say, hey, this is what's going on. I'm thinking like this. I'm feeling like this. And then I'm going to sit down with my journal and God. I'm going to find out why. I'm going to find out why I got clean in the first place. And then the next thing is, what are your reasons to stay sober? What are the reasons that you want to stay sober? Is it because you have kids that you want them to see you clean and sober for the rest of your life, right? Do you have a family that's super proud of you for finding recovery that you don't want to let down? Do you have a job you don't want to lose? Do you not want to go back to that suffering state? Do you want to do something with your life over the next couple of years that you don't want to lose the opportunity to do? And what are your reasons to stay sober? Sit down, write it out. Write it out. What are your reasons? And this isn't just like, you don't have to be in emotional relapse or in mental relapse to do this exercise. This exercise is powerful. Writing down, what are my reasons to stay clean and sober? This is actually something you could even post up on your wall, post up, on your mirror, whatever you want. And just to remind yourself, like, I'm clean and sober for a reason. I'm doing this for a reason. I don't want to go back for a reason. So let's keep going with that. Okay. I'm going to hop in the comments real quick. He's very closed about this. I will say almost stubborn. He says he can do this on his own. It's frustrating because he about died in my arms. I don't want to lose him. Maybe that's selfish. Nah, Tina, you're not acting selfish at all. You're not acting selfish at all. You're actually acting very selfless. And us in this community, we love you. We love people like you. We love loved ones like you that truly, truly care. It means a lot to us. Some of us didn't have someone like you when we were in our addiction or in our early recovery. A lot of us didn't have that one person that really cared, right? So keep doing what you're doing. Keep reaching out. Find some people. Feel free to message my page so we can have a real conversation about it and what's going on. Maybe someone can get through to him. I don't see very many people. I'm not saying it never happens, but it rarely happens where I see someone that finds recovery, stays clean and sober for, permanent recovery, or even, 6 months or a year, without a community, some kind of community. It doesn't have to be 12-step fellowships. They're the best thing I've found that has a community everywhere I go in the entire world. There's somebody, there's a group, there's a community that I can go into knowing I'm welcome, knowing that, I relate to these people at least on one thing in my life. So I don't know anybody really that finds recovery without community. So it's rare. Realizing that these emotions are only thoughts at this stage, tell someone as soon as you can. Yes, write about your feelings. Go to anyone in your support network. If you think you don't have a network, come to us. Amen. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly what I'm talking about. Love you, Mom. Hey, Adam, my mom's watching. Her name is Vicky. What's up, Vicky? Good to see you. Love your son. Thank you for making him. He's an amazing, amazing human. Ones to many, 100 is never enough. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Love you too. Love watching and listening to Adam. Vicky, thanks so much for being here. Love you. Love you so much. What's up, Opal? Good to see you. Good to see you. To regain your life back for your loved ones, make a new positive life, do the rest of your lives. Amen. Amen. Guys, we're going to take a quick 30-second break. When we come back, I'm actually going to give you some very simple steps to set goals to prevent a relapse from coming. Love you guys, and we will be right back. What's up, Recovered on Purpose family? I hope you're enjoying this episode as much as I do when I'm making them. Guys, if you're getting any value from this, if you're seeing any golden nuggets that you want to share with your community, make sure that you are. You're sharing it with your groups, you're sharing it with your personal page or your pages, or to that one person that you're thinking of right now in their messengers so that they get this message. And guys, the brand new Recovered on Purpose website is up, and it has a whole bunch of different merchandise and resources and the free calls with me. So make sure you're checking out recoveredonpurpose.com after the show. And if you are a loved one of an addict, if you have a kid that's suffering an addiction, I'm now doing free calls so we can strategize and find out how we can get them clean and keep them clean. Love you guys so much and enjoy the rest of the show. All right. Amen. Guys, that's what recovery is about. I love what I do. I love helping people. I'm looking for more and more ways to do it. And each one of us in this community that has recovery, we're called to do it. We are called to help people. So after the what are your reasons to stay sober, a really good exercise that I found. If I, then I. Okay. And what you do with this, and this will be in the worksheet. It's in the worksheet, and it's just being graphically designed for y'all right now. And if you're watching this after September 23rd of 2022, if you're watching this after, go to recoveredonpurpose.com/relapse prevention and go ahead and get the free download of the worksheet. So if I, then I exercise, we're going to put if I relapse at the top of a page over here on the left, then I, and then you're going to write everything that would happen if you relapsed. And you're going to go deep. You're going to think of every single thing that you can possibly think of if you were to relapse. Okay. And that can be anything. You can say, I will feel high. I will escape the emotions that I'm feeling right now. But then you also got to talk about, I will disappoint my mom. I will disappoint my sister. I will lose my job. I will, be uncontrolled. I won't be able to know where I'm going the next day, and write down if I relapse, then I blank, and just write as much as you can possibly think of. Because each one of us had a different experience in addiction. For me, I had a pretty low bottom. I was homeless. I was 86 from a homeless shelter. I was unable to stop using. I was on felony probation for drug possession, found dead behind the wheel of a car, all that stuff. And if I was to relapse, I believe that it would be even worse than that. That's why I'm so solid on I don't want to drink or use. I just don't want that in my life. I'm not willing to bring it into my life ever again. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes not to. So when you do the if I relapse, then I exercise, now write if I, and then write some things down that you could add into your life. If I work out 3 days a week, if I exercise 3 days a week, then I will feel better about my body, will lower stress and anxiety, will increase my health, will, and then write if I, exercise 3 times a day, and then I blank, and just write as many things as possible. If I start reading 10 pages a day, then I blank. If I start this nonprofit I've always wanted to start, then I blank. If I get my certificate for addictions counseling, then I blank. And write some things, if I was to do this, then I would get this. This is a really cool exercise because you really get clear on, because all of us have things that we want to do. We all have things that we want to add into our life. We'll really be able to get clear on, if we were to add these things into our life, what would happen? What would be the positive impact in our life and the lives around us if we were to do this thing that we know we want to do, this thing that would be good for us, this thing that, this fun thing even, right? And then the next thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to go into the comments. Great family. Amen. Amen. Thank you. And thank you for helping so many. Love you, Vicky. Replay crew today. Aaron, love you, brother. Thanks for coming in. Man, it must be, I don't even know what time it is there in Australia. It must be super early or super late. One of the two. Thanks for coming in, brother. Okay, after if I, then I. And this is for anyone. This is for anyone. If you're in early recovery, if you are an addict and you're trying to get clean, or if you're in long-term recovery, the top five is a really good list to have. Okay. And I'm going to give you the top five to make, and make this list. There's nothing wrong. This won't take you very long. It'll take you a few minutes. So if you have a journal, if you have your phone in front of you or anything, make notes of these top five lists so you can make them out there yourself. And then if you're watching this again, if you're watching this September 23rd, 2022 or after, go to recoveredonpurpose.com/relapse prevention, download the free worksheet, and all this is right there for you. So number one, make a list of your top 5 supporters you can always reach out to if you're struggling. So for Jeremy, I'm sure that's going to be Vicky, Mama Bear, and, write their name and phone number and actually write it down. Don't just think about it, but write down your top 5 supporters. This can be family, can be sponsor. It can be an old teacher you had, someone that if you reached out to them and you were struggling, they would take the time to talk to you. They would talk to you. It's a really good list to have and a really good thing to have awareness of having. So you know who to reach out to when you're struggling. You just know you have this. And if you're out there in addiction and you don't have, you don't think that you have 5 people that support you, get into the rooms, get into communities like this, start reaching out, start finding people, and don't ever be ashamed or afraid to say, hey, I'm making a list of 5 people I can reach out to when I'm struggling. I really want to get clean and sober. I really want to do this thing. And I heard that it would help me to have a list of 5 people I can always reach out to. How would you feel about being on that list? And if I called you, would you answer for me? Super simple. I would be, it's an honor to be on that list. It's an honor, because also if that person is in recovery, the 5 people that support you, if some of them are in recovery, you never know when you calling them is actually saving their life right there in that moment. Someone in recovery could be struggling with something. Their dog died, their mom died, their brother passed away. Something crazy could be going on in their life in that moment, and you call them for help. Them getting out of themselves and helping you actually helps them in that moment. So don't ever be afraid to reach out to people in recovery, because we need you worse than you need us, or just as bad. It works. It's a really cool paradox. It's a really cool spiritual paradox. We need each other. That's how it works. Next list. Make a list of 5 simple things you could do any day to serve someone else. Make this list, things that you like to do. This could be as simple as, call an addict in early recovery. Smile at people as I'm walking today. Smile at everyone I walk by today. Call my mom. These different acts of service. Maybe, find someone on the streets that's struggling, a homeless person on the streets. I was one of them. Find someone and go have a conversation with them. Write down 5 things that you could do any day if you chose to, and write them on a list. So you can go to this list if you're in the state of emotional relapse or mental relapse even. Go to this list and go out and do one of them today. Go out and literally look for a way to do one of these acts of service today. And even if you're in recovery, you're feeling great, all your emotions are good, you're not mentally in relapse or anything like that, this is a really good exercise. Having this list of 5 and finding a way that you can be of service every single day and getting into a habit of living for other people, living to help other people, it keeps your mind right. It keeps you out of yourself. It keeps you focused on how can I show up today and help God help people. That's the whole point of what we're doing in recovery. Our whole mission in recovery is to make ourselves of maximum usefulness to God and our fellows. And our fellows are people that our fellows are fellows. They're people, any people. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to always be serving addicts in order to be serving God and people. Okay. It's really good to have things in your list that are specific to help addicts because we love our addicts. Us addicts in recovery love to help addicts. So have one of them maybe be something for someone that's not an addict, and then have a bunch be things you can do for addicts. And this is a really good list to have. Make sure it's on hand or just memorize it. And then think about it. Maybe pick one a day. If you had one thing a day that you focused on, today I'm going to make sure to smile at everybody that walks by me. That's if you are focusing on, if you're thinking about today I'm smiling at everybody that walks by me, you're going to be thinking about that while you're walking by people instead of thinking about, oh, I'm sad, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I have all these things going on. No, you're going to be looking for people to smile at. It's a really good exercise. And if you're looking for, if your thing for the day is find someone that is homeless, that is struggling and have a conversation with them, then when you're walking around, you're not going to be focused on stress, anxiety, depression, and all that kind of stuff. You're going to be focused on, okay, where is somebody that I can have a conversation with that I can serve? Where is somebody out here? Your mind is going to be fixated on somebody else the entire day because you're going to be thinking about this act of service that you need to do today. You chose to do this today. Third list. Make a list of 5 daily habits you did in order to get sober in the first place. Now, for me, this was go to a meeting. It was call my sponsor. I did, when I woke up, I always made my bed. I did these exercise routines when I woke up. I would do, 20 jumping jacks, 30 push-ups, wide, mid, and narrow. Then I would do 20 sit-ups. And these things, these small little habits, I did them every single day in my early recovery. And I made sure to start building that foundation, that habitual foundation of a good life, something that I am doing to work on myself every single day. Spiritual fitness, reading my Bible, journaling. These things I've progressed into different daily habits that help me keep in this fit spiritual condition. And I know that if I'm getting in a place where I'm emotionally sick or spiritually sick and I feel this going on, I know where to go back to. I know the habits that have me in a place where I'm spiritually fit. I know them. So if I'm feeling a certain way, that means I'm not doing a certain thing. That means I'm missing something that I used to do that kept me spiritually fit. So go back to early recovery. Go back to where you were in those first 90 days. Those things that you were doing every single day to make sure that you were in recovery, to make sure that you were abstaining, to make sure that you were progressing towards someone that was going to be able to get clean and sober and stay clean and sober. And go back to the basics if you need to. Go back to the basics. If you're in long-term recovery and you're in emotional relapse, or if you're in mental relapse, go back to the basics. Just do it. You already know that it works. Get yourself back in that fit spiritual condition and move on. Let's go. Okay. Hopping back in the comments. Jeremy hopping in. With this activity, you could honestly shed some light on topics that can really help your recovery. Amen. Exactly. Top 5, staying alive. Yeah, facts. Amen. Crystal, good to see you. I love you guys. I'm at work, but had to drop some love. I'm super excited, guys. Crystal is going to be launching her book on October 2nd. Been working with her, we've been going through the whole process. She's already finished the book and everything. It's with the editor. I wrote the foreword for it, and I'm sure that she's really close to having the final product for the cover of the book. And man, It's going to be awesome. We haven't published a Recovered on Purpose book in like 2 years, and she just doing the speaking course. We decided that it was time to write a book. It's time to write a book, and in like 3 weeks she was done. Boom. Super excited about it. All right. Fourth of the top five. Make a list of 5 things you can or want to add to your life that you could do, that you could now that you are in recovery. So these things, okay, the list of 5 things that you want to add to your life, or you could add to your life, that you know would progress you in your life. Make a list of 5 of them. And this is kind of similar to the if I, then I exercise earlier of the positive part of it, right? If I relapse, then I lose all this stuff. But if I did this, then this would happen. So write 5 things down. Write a list of 5 things that you're not currently doing that if you did would add something to your life, whether it be health or whether it be, knowledge or service, something that you could do to add to your life that you've wanted to do, but you just haven't taken the steps towards yet. Maybe it's, I want to read 10 pages a day. Maybe it's, I want to meditate 10 pages a day or 10 minutes a day. Maybe it's, I want to pray every morning and every night without fail, and write these 5 things down that you could add to your life and you actually want to. That doesn't mean you're actually going to do all 5 of them right now. You don't have to overwhelm yourself with all this stuff you have to add into your life right now. But making this list and becoming aware of the things that you actually want to add into your life is going to be really, really good for you to continue to progress in your recovery. Because then once you have them, you're aware of them, go ahead and do the if I, then I exercise with it. If I read 10 pages a day, then I am reading more than 92% of the people on the planet. If I read 10 pages a day for 5 years on one topic, I will be an expert, beyond experts in that topic, just by reading 10 pages a day. If I, then I. Try this out. Make a list of 5 things you do want to add to your life, not necessarily going to right now. Then do the if I, then I. See if one of them pops out that you want to add in right now. Number 5. Top five, number 5 list. Make a list of your 5 favorite hobbies or activities that bring you happiness and joy. So some of us in early recovery, we didn't even know what our hobbies were that we liked. We didn't even know activities that we would like to do. And this is something that we want to find in our recovery. We want to find things that bring us joy, that bring us happiness, that make us feel good. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's a sport. For me, I found paddle tennis recently. If you haven't seen paddle tennis yet, YouTube paddle, P-A-D-E-L, tennis, and watch what I'm learning to do. I'm nowhere near those guys on YouTube. I'm like a level 4 out of 4. It's like the lowest level. But I really, really love doing it. It makes me feel alive. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm doing something that I love doing just for me, right? And write these 5 hobbies down. Maybe your hobby is crocheting. I've seen multiple people in recovery that will sit there during a meeting and just crochet, making knits or making hats or mitts or, sweaters or blankets even. And they really enjoy the process of just like focusing and knitting and just knowing that they're creating something. And this can be something like, maybe you like hiking, maybe you actually like running. I hate running. I do it because it's healthy and I know that it's healthy for me and I hate it. So I do it. But, these different things that bring you joy, that bring you happiness, that make you feel good after doing them or good while you're doing them also. And what this does is if you're aware of the 5 things that really bring you joy, that really bring you happiness, the 5 hobbies, you can start adding them into your schedule. Like maybe if you're in, forgive me 12 steppers, but if you're going to a meeting every single day and that makes it so that you can't have other hobbies, right? You work 9 to 5, you get off of work, you have to go home and eat really quick, get dressed to go to your meeting at 7 o'clock. Maybe one day a week, you have a hobby that you do every single week. Maybe you have basketball every Wednesday or something. So you miss that one day. It's okay. It's okay to have a hobby that makes you happy, that you're doing for yourself. Not in relation to, I'm not saying in relation to recovery. Something completely outside of recovery that you love to do, that is just, it just brings you happiness, just makes you feel alive. I love team sports. So I do them. All right, comments. Great job. Amen. Why are some people drawn to people still using when they're just few weeks clean themselves? Any answers? Why are some people drawn to people still using when they're just a few weeks clean themselves? Jackie, what I would say for this, people in early recovery are drawn to people still using because there's two things. Number one, they're still lying to themselves that they can help that person get clean. Us in long-term recovery, we have learned that it's not up to us to get someone clean. We've learned that we can help people by guiding them, by showing them what to do, but we can't do it for them. In early, very, very early recovery, or even while we're still in our addiction, we have this thought, we have this lie that we can bring the people that we use with us, that we're just gonna be able to mic them in with us. But in reality, what happens is their negative habits, their negative environment, their drug use and everything is much more contagious onto us than our recovery is onto them when we're in early recovery. And that's number two. Number two is we could be lying to ourselves, saying that we're making an excuse like, oh, we're trying to help them. But in reality, we are just waiting to start using again. And we know that that person has drugs. We know that that person drinks or whatever. So there's a couple different things. Someone that is truly ready and truly good to go with recovery is willing to let go of all the connections that are still using drugs that they can get drugs from. They're willing to block them out. They're willing to cut them out and do their recovery. I completely 100% lost all attraction to people that were using drugs to be in my life, in my circle, outside of fellowship rooms where I was safe with them on day one. I just didn't want to be around anybody anymore. I was ready to stop, and I did it. I did it. So those are the two reasons I can think of. If you have somebody that you are specifically talking about, they need to have a conversation with someone that's in recovery, in long-term recovery, so they can become clear on, it's not up to you, and your likelihood of staying sober if you're hanging out with people that are using is almost zero. Almost zero. And when I say almost, it's basically zero. I haven't seen it yet, but I believe anything is possible. It just doesn't happen. Jeremy, get back to your art and drawing. You're so talented. Amen, mama. Possibly that they're used to being around these people because they can relate to these people and can get them clean, which is false. Yep. Well said, Adam, in reference to Jackie's question. Yes, you too, brother. All right. Another exercise. A bucket list. A bucket list. We've all heard of what a bucket list is, but now that we're in recovery, we actually can make a bucket list that we can achieve. We can sit down with a journal and write things that we want to do in our life that we've always wanted to do. A lot of you have heard me talk about this, but one thing that I did in early recovery, I had always wanted to go skydiving since I was really young, but very early on in my adulthood, I lost the ability to because I was way too wrapped up in drugs. I was way too wrapped up in using. I couldn't spend that much money on skydiving because, I needed that money for drugs. But I celebrated my 6 months clean and sober by going skydiving. And it was an amazing, amazing feeling, something I'd always wanted to do. I actually finally did it. So write the bucket list down, places you want to travel, things you want to experience, activities you want to try. Write this bucket list down, as many as you can think of, and then pick one that you're going to do this year. If you're in early recovery, do this right now. Right now, write a bucket list down and pick one of those things that you are going to do this year. You're going to make it happen no matter what it takes. Okay. And it can be something small. Like skydiving is not that huge of a goal or a bucket list item, but I can tell you it 100% changed my life. And in recovery, you deserve good things in your life. You deserve these things. You've worked hard for your recovery, and you're worth it. You're worth having the experiences, the activities that you've always wanted to have in your life. So don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to make it happen in your life. Do the things that you've always wanted to do. Write the bucket list down, pick one, do at least one this year, and watch yourself. Watch and celebrate yourself. Celebrate your recovery. It's an amazing thing being free from the bondage of drugs and alcohol. Many of us in our addiction were completely chained, completely locked to this. Nothing could happen for our lives. Nothing positive could happen for our lives while we were addicted. And now that we're in recovery, we have to allow ourselves to have these positive experiences, to have these things happen in our life. We have to be open to them and make them happen because we absolutely deserve it now. 100% deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve your life. You deserve your goals. You deserve your bucket list items, your experiences that you've always wanted to have. You've earned it. Go get it. Now, this other exercise, this one is a really, really good one, whether you're in recovery or not. But your life 3 years from now, sit down with a journal. And again, guys, if you're watching this September 23rd, 2022 or after, go to recoveredonpurpose.com/relapse prevention. There's a free worksheet, PDF worksheet you can download, you can print it, you can do it right there on your computer to do all these exercises right there. And it lays them out for you, makes it super simple. We don't want you guys relapsing. We're sick of losing you. We love you. So if you're in your recovery, go get the worksheet, enjoy it. So this one is your life 3 years from now. Sit down with a journal, sit down with the worksheet. And on this, I gave you plenty of room. Get deep about your vision for your life 3 years from now. Understand what you want with your life. Understand how you want to act, how you want to feel, who you want to have around you, the type of work you want to be doing, the kind of car you want to have, all this stuff, and write it down. Write it in present tense. What you're going to do is you're going to envision yourself. You're going to sit there, you're going to envision yourself in 3 years with the ideal life that you want to have. And this doesn't mean like, oh, I live in a $22 million home. I have a 3 wives and 18 children and this kind of stuff. That doesn't, you're not doing that kind of stuff. You're envisioning the life, the ideal life that you see yourself having that would make you happy and that you can get. And that doesn't mean that, you think of it as not possible, right? Because whatever you see in your mind, in that vision, whatever you see yourself living 3 years from now, when you're sitting there and you're really thinking about, okay, if I did everything that I know I need to do, and 3 years from now, how would my life look? How would I want my life to look? And ask yourself, how would I feel? What would I think? Who would be around me? And then write it in present tense. I am a certified addictions counselor. I have 6 patients that I talk to every single day, or 6 patients that I talk to every single week, and write down everything about your work. And then I drive a, Nissan Altima. It's blacked out. It has, a sound system in it. It has a Bose sound system in it. I put LED lights underneath the dash, and just go deep into what your car looks like and write it in the present tense, right? I have. And then I feel excited when I wake up because my work is so rewarding. I feel excited when I wake up because I get to help someone today. I feel joyful because I'm doing this every day. I'm playing basketball every week. I feel joyful because I have this going on in my life. I feel happy and progressed, and I feel achievement because I did these 3 things on my bucket list. Last year, you can even write it like in present tense, 3 years from now. Last year, I went to Europe. I always wanted to go to Europe, and then just write out your whole trip. Write it out exactly how it went, and get as detailed as possible, and get that real vision written out onto paper, so that as you're envisioning it, you're writing it out in reality as if it's right now. And what this does is it will trigger your mind to really go for that, to understand that that's where your life is going. That's what you're doing everything for. You're working towards that life. And it'll be so clear. You'll feel those emotions within you right now as if you're living that life right now. And then that'll make it so that you can make the decisions right now and into the future for the next 3 years that will take you to that vision. That's the point of your life in 3 years from now. Again, guys, thank you for being here. Jeremy, I love you. Jackie, thank you very much. You really helped clarify the situation. Love you. Thank you for being in here. Take action. You will succeed. Amen. We do recover. You will regain your love and life back. It is possible. Believe you can do it. Amen. Beautiful. Thank you. Erica, love you. Thank you for being here. Yes, spending holidays with your family. Miss that so much. Episode 53. Boom. Great job. Love you so much for being here. Love you, Adam. Thank you. Love you guys so much. Enjoy your weekend. And I have a really special guest tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. Kimberly Clark. She is a certified Recovered on Purpose recovery speaker now. She went through the whole course. She's a published author, and she's coming on the show. She's going to tell her story. You guys will love her. Love you guys. Keep living Recovered on Purpose.